Day, June 4th. And my voice is a little bit back, but we've got a bumpy road ahead. I did go on voice rest yesterday, minus the show and minus a couple TikToks and Instagrams. Like, I had to do a little bit of social content, but other than that, I didn't talk all day. And you guys, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. Try parenting two boys on their last week of school without a voice. I'm telling you, this was the hardest job I've ever had in my entire life. You guys know I'm single parenting right now, and I was like wrangling two human beings, two boys, two almost it's their last week of school before summer break, 6th grade and 4th grade with no voice. I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was losing my mind. And then I was reading all of these things. I was on laryngitis TikTok. That's a place I don't want to be ever again. Okay. I was reading laryngitis TikTok. I decided by like 9 p.m. last night, I was in a scroll hole where I realized I was never going to be able to talk again. TikTok is a sad, scary place. And what happens is sometimes you get into these scroll holes on TikTok where you're like, oh, I guess by the end of the year, I will never be able to speak again. According to TikTok, they said sometimes there's cases of laryngitis where your voice will never recover. And I said, that's going to happen to me. You always go to the worst place at the end. It is so scary. But luckily, I did not speak as much as possible yesterday. And I woke up and my voice is better. And I think if I continue on this road, by tomorrow, it will continue to be better. And hopefully by next week, I will be back. My eyebrows are not doing great today, but my voice is getting a little bit better. Welcome to the show. Today, we're going to talk all about the updates, okay? We got some Karen Reed updates, even though the trial is not continuing because of the loud fans. That's not a joke. That's not a mistake. The trial is on pause tomorrow because of the loud fans. Swear. Because of the freaking fans in the courtroom. But we're going to talk about it. Blake Lively has more support coming in from weird places. You know how they say, I got friends in low places. There's that. And then we got some interesting other news. I've got some other stories I want to talk to you about, including the Valley recap, and then some other Kristin Cavallari news. And this show, Next Gen NYC, premiered last night. Did I watch it? Hell to the no. Did you? I'm curious. But there was a couple of stories that came out of that. And Love Island. We've got other stories to talk about, everything like breaking and for fun and more on today's Daily Dose of Donna. I see everyone is like freaking out that school is already out for us this week. But when I was younger, I was it was middle of June. Like growing up here in Los Angeles, it was always mid-June. Mid to end of June. Now it's beginning of June. And then they start school end of August. Everything's shifting. But everywhere it's different in different places. So who knows? Who knows? Last year we ended some places end school in May. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, what's next? We're going to end school on St. Patrick's Day? It's an interesting time, guys. Everything's changing. We're living in the upside down. That's how I look at life. Thank you guys so much for being here. Wow. First, we got to talk about the comments about yesterday, okay? First, we got to talk about yesterday. Here's one thing I know. People do not like people that like Blake Lively. Here's what I have to say. You do not like people who like Blake. You don't fuck with people who fuck with Blake. Okay. I get it. Blake Lively represents to us like all that is wrong with people, like wrong with the world. She's that way to me too. I'm with you guys. I am open to people that think she's pretty. That's not enough for me to attack someone, say, I will, unfollow you, unsubscribe, and give you a 1-star review like some commenters yesterday. But I had a guest on yesterday's show who said that they think Blake Lively is pretty. And whoa, it was as if they said that Blake Lively did no wrong in this case. It was nutty, nutty. But I get it. We're all very invested in these cases. And I have to admit, I do the same in some capacity because this morning I was at my gym. I go to the local F45 and I was working out and my trainer, uh, her name is Natalie and she listens to the show and she watches me every morning and I watch the trial right while I'm working out. And so I always have one AirPod in and I have Karen Reed trial, following me around station by station. And so I was watching Lucky, the snow plow driver this morning, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But I was I was talking to her and she goes, "There is one person that works out here and she's an attorney and she thinks Karen Reed is guilty." And I was like, "Excuse me, what? What?" And she goes, "Yeah, she thinks she's guilty and she's an attorney." And I was like, well, she's not watching the trial." Like I got so mad. And she goes, "I mean, I don't know. She just thinks that there's no way it was dog bites." I was like, "Is she a dog bite expert? Is she Dr. Marie Russell? Has she gone to school for dog bites? Does she even know anything about dog bites? Has she even owned a dog?" Like I got really, really like passionate. I could feel it in my own bones. And I thought to myself, like, I've become that. I've become the unhinged person that I complain about online. And she goes, I don't know. I mean, she just thinks that she's guilty. She just doesn't think that I said, she's not watching the trial." I got like really crazy. I was like, she's not paying attention then. Did she even see the officer from Dighton yesterday who said there was only a little crack? She's not paying attention. Like I really I got crazy. And my trainer's like, I'm just telling you what she didn't know. Like my veins popped, like I got sweaty, my heart rate went up, Jen McCabe style when she's covering up for a crime. Like the whole thing happened. Like I got intense. And I was like, whoa, I became one of them. And by one of them, I mean someone yesterday in my comments who attacked Bobby because he thinks Blake Lively is hot. I was like, okay, I may need to take a step back from the trial. But then I continued to watch it, of course, all morning because I can't take a step back. Here's the problem with this. We truly, truly are incredibly invested in these cases because they feel like they're us. I don't know why. I feel like we feel so connected to these victims, right? We feel connected to Justin. We feel connected to Karen. They're not us. We don't know them from anyone, but we feel like they could be us in some weird capacity, or we feel like they're like a version of us, just like wrong place, wrong time, or being, connecting with someone who like ruins our life or throws us under the bus to take the fall for something that they have nothing to do with. Like it's just so crazy to think about it, but I think it's like taking over our lives a little bit. I need to take a step back. My name is Donna Bowling and I have a problem. And it's called hyperfixation. It's called Thank God I Get Paid for This.com. So yeah, but I'm not alone. I mean, luckily I'm not alone. I was saying it yesterday on the show that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, I mean, definitely millions of people are invested in these things daily, right? Millions of people are invested in these cases on a daily basis. Documentaries are being made about them. They're hitting national news on a daily basis, right? Like the Today Show covered Karen Reed, covered the Kelly Dever and her testimony yesterday, I saw. And I know CNN covers it, Fox News covers it, like all political spectrums news is covering these cases. So like And they definitely covered the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively case. And they're not covering, silly little side reality TV drama. So you know that a lot of the world is getting very invested in this as well. So we're not alone. We're not alone with this. But anyway, justice for poor Bobby Sauce yesterday. He texted me, or not texted, he DM'd right after the show, and he's like, whoa, whoa. He's like, I almost called a sidebar during your show because I was getting a lot of hate in the comments. I felt bad. And it's always really hard when you're doing a live show because the comments as they're like rolling in, especially when people are being mean and people are commenting like while we're live saying, how in the world do you like this man? This guy is awful. He's so bad. He's so horrible. Donna, what do you see in him? He's da, da, da. And but so many people are also saying how great he is. But of course, when you see all positive and then you have one negative, they like scream out. So I was like, Bobby, you just gotta forget about the negative. But I feel so bad for him. I felt bad because he's so entertaining and so funny. But he was just being honest. He's like, I think she's hot. She's crazy, but I think she's hot. I'm like, you're not committing a crime by thinking Blake Lively is pretty. She doesn't really look like that. Like if you take away all the surgery and all the, the money. Speaking of, Blake Lively got more support. Did you guys see that? Blake Lively got more support from this another Amicus briefing or whatever the hell you want to call these Atticus briefs. I call them Atticus. What do I call them? Atticus cases or Atticus something. These Amicus briefs. Now, these things are so confusing. You can't even find them in the news anymore because no one even wants to report on these things. They're so ridiculous. But Blake Lively is just finding she's searching the interweb. She's on Craigslist. This is not official, but this is what I think. She's on Craigslist searching the interwebs looking for anyone and everyone to support her. She's calling 1-800-FIND-SUPPORT. Hi, my name is Blake Lively. Do you have an organization? Do you have a nonprofit? Can you please support me in this filing against Justin Baldoni? Because I've lost all my friends. I've lost the public opinion and I've lost Daily Mail. I've definitely lost Taylor Swift and most people. So do you think that you can support me in this filing against Justin Baldoni? Great. I'll mark you down as a yes. I'll send you an evite. Please circle yes. I mean, that is truly what I feel like what's happening. And it's so insanely frustrating because these organizations are coming out of the woodworks supporting her. I don't exactly understand why. I think that they're just looking at either it's a promotional situation for them or it comes from a situation that it was a feeling of, they're looking at it from a zoomed out perspective. Here is a woman who is sexually harassed on a movie set. And we as an organization need to support women who are sexually harassed on a movie set. That is it. They're not looking at facts. They're not looking at evidence. They're just looking at that point blank. And that to me it's pretty ridiculous because as we know, so many people can lie and cheat and steal their way out of it. So some people believe that this feels like it is a money situation. Maybe she's paying them, donating money. There's connections behind the situation. There could be connections in terms of who's behind the organizations, who's in charge of the organizations, et cetera, et cetera. We have to look into that. But here's the new motion, and it's from Child USA, which is pretty rich, coming from the parents of the year, Blake and Ryan. As you know, we don't need to go into detail, but Ryan Reynolds had his daughter in Deadpool, who she played child pool, kid pool, whatever, baby pool. I don't even know, one of the pools, and say the word DICK. I don't even want to say it here. 100,000 times saying, get Wolverine's DICK out of my mouth. This is not someone that gives a crap about children and children's safety from what we know. I mean, on paper, sure, but not maybe in reality. It's giving a little bit like do as I say, but not as I do kind of energy. Anyway, he is probably the last person that should be supported by. He's also the one, Ryan Reynolds is the one, and I'm sure someone out there has already put some sort of video together of all the times he's made jokes about his kids doing crack, cocaine, being on drugs. And remember, Blake Lively is also someone who's made jokes about her kid, putting her face to the screen when her dad had mashed potatoes eaten out of his behind during the movie Deadpool, and her kid is watching it. Like, these are not parents that you should be like, oh my goodness. Now, if you do remember, Blake Lively was she was on a stage being honored. Was this the award that Selma Blair spoke and like honored her for or something years ago or a few years ago? I can't remember if it was for Glamour or Vogue or Variety or one of these big organizations where she got some sort of honor. And there's a speech on YouTube where she speaks and she's like thanking the I don't know, the organizations, and she's an advocate for children and pornography, right? Like online child pornography. So that's probably the connection here. But it just still feels very put on and it doesn't feel aligned. Let me see what year that was. Child. It was Variety, and it was 8 years ago. Now, this conversation, I watched this a couple months ago, I remember. And this is where the casting director in me really comes out in handy, because one thing I used to do when I was a casting director was really be able to note, like to mark and note when an actor was really putting it on. And by putting it on, I think that you don't know, or you do know, when an actor is like playing a role versus being the role. You know how they always say, like, how do you know when an actor is right for the role? The way that you know when an actor is right for a role is when you don't know that they're acting, when you don't even know that they're playing a role, when they just become the role. Blake Lively, to me, when she does these speeches and when she does these appearances, she puts on a role. She did it for Time Magazine during her speech, and she does it here for the Variety speech when she speaks up for these children. I think, honestly, Ryan Reynolds does it too. They both put it on. I'll show you just a couple minutes from the speech. This is, of course, after Selma Blair gives her the honor, and then she comes up. Of course, notice the flowers in the background. The floral theme comes with her. She literally was like, she brought flowers everywhere. This is 8 years ago. Now, also, I want you to notice, and I haven't watched this in months, but I'm just going to assume that this happens, the use of her hands and the stutter. And she doesn't have a stutter. This is like a forcible stutter that kind of happens when she is putting something on in her dialogue. Watch it for a little bit. I don't even remember if she does it, but I'm imagining she probably does.
To show you guys that, while I'm talking, there's a map right here. And if you guys look up at this map, every time a dot shows up, is it live? What's happening? Oh, there you go. There you go. Now they have it live. So every time a dot shows up, that is someone that's trading or viewing child pornography right now as we speak. So that's how prevalent this is. And I didn't really know what child pornography was. We all sort of have an idea of it, and I was afraid to ask as a mother, because it would be very painful to hear. And I felt like I had to ask, though, and I feel like I have to share it with you guys now. And it is disturbing, and I want to warn you, but I feel it's my responsibility to tell you guys, because it is the truth. And I believe if we all knew this, we would dedicate much more of ourselves to stopping it. So when I asked what child pornography entailed, yes, it's nude images of boys and girls under the age of 18. But now, because of high-speed internet, it's also videos very prominently, and videos of kids. And by kids, I mean prepubescent, visibly prepubescent. And they make the distinction because of the internet and there's so much content. These pedophiles are desensitized. Because of that, the kids are getting younger and the content is getting that much more devastating. So when this law enforcement officer told me this, I asked him how young are the young kids he's seeing. And he told me infants.
Forcible
And
cry.
I have a 6-month-old baby. So I said, what does that mean? You know, like what does an infant mean? And he said, with the umbilical cord still attached. I know it's so devastating to hear this, and I'm really sorry to share this, but I'm grateful that you guys are listening, because this is actually happening, and it's important that we know this and that it resonates with us, so that we think about this in our days and in our personal life.
Okay, this is an incredibly horrible subject to talk about, right? I don't know if I looked at this video 8 months ago, had I had a different experience looking at this video. But I'm telling you, I don't think I would have, because I do believe that she comes off incredibly inauthentic. And I think I would have felt that a year ago, 2 years ago. She acts, even when she's speaking from the heart, she's acting in a monologue on a film set right now, even when she's coming from the heart. I have a 6-month-old. I know it's hard to say. It's so obvious to me. There's nothing authentic that comes from this girl's mouth. This is why I don't believe a thing that she says. Now, this motion that came from Child USA, I'm not gonna, I'll show it to you guys. We don't need to read the entire thing. I find it embarrassing for this company. It's another one. It says Child USA is an interdisciplinary nonprofit think tank dedicated to preventing child abuse and neglect and ensuring access to justice for survivors. Its mission is to employ in-depth legal analysis and cutting-edge social science research to come up with the best policies needed to increase child protection and the common good. This Marcy A. Hamilton is a world-renowned constitutional law scholar, First Amendment expert, and professor of practice. And it tracks sexual abuse statutes of limitations through its institute and spearheads the national movement to align SOLs with the well-established science of delayed disclosure. It's very important for a lot of things. I am 100% behind these movements. I'm not against a company or an organization like Child USA. What I'm against is that they align themselves with someone who is becoming the face of a movement that is turning you guys, it's making people like us non-believers of this movement. It says Child USA has a strong interest in the outcome of this case, which will shape the legal landscape for survivors in California and beyond. Child USA offers this brief to demonstrate that California Civil Code 47.1 is both constitutionally sound and essential to protect the rights of survivors of sexual violence, safeguard the integrity of public discourse, and ensure equitable access to justice. So it's just really, it's a very, very slippery slope what's happening right now. There's so many different cases that are happening dealing with this very, very specific story right now, like the story of 47.1 and the story of sexual harassment and the story of retaliation and defamation, etc. Just this morning, with just my very, very brief research on what was happening in the news and like just what was happening in the news. You guys, I found so many stories just this morning about let me try to pull it up, about what's going on with these stories that don't even have to do with Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, but have to do with celebrity cases in this space. So, for example, Vin Diesel. Did you guys hear about this Vin Diesel story? Vin Diesel is represented by Brian Friedman as well. Now, I have not done any any research on the Vin Diesel case at all. So I don't want to like sit here and speak out on it, but Vin Diesel is represented by Brian Friedman, and Vin Diesel's currently um here, this is literally a current case right now, so I want to show you guys. It says Vin Diesel's lawyer speaks out after latest ruling in sexual battery case with ex-assistant. So this happened today. It says the former assistant remains committed to seeking justice. Um, It says in December 2023, Vin Diesel was sued by a former assistant who claimed the actor sexually assaulted her in September 2010, which Diesel denies. The judge in the case dismissed some of the former assistant's claims connected to California's Fair Employment and Housing Act. Diesel's lawyer, Brian Friedman, said they'll present evidence that the remaining allegations are fictitious. Vin Diesel scored a legal win in his continued court battle with his ex-assistant who accused him of sexual assault. So in 2023, his former assistant named Asta Jonasson, that's her name, filed a sexual battery assault in Los Angeles against him over an incident in 2010, all right, in Atlanta. Yesterday, the judge made a tentative ruling dismissing the 4 causes of action that had to do with the California Fair Employment and Housing Act: discrimination in violation, hostile work environment in violation, retaliation in violation, failure to prevent discrimination, harassment, and retaliation, all in the California Fair Employment and Housing Act, because she failed to timely exhaust her administrative remedies by filing a CRD complaint within 1 year, a jurisdictional requirement for a FEHA lawsuit. So it was like an administrative mistake, right? She didn't file within 1 year. Okay. He says, Brian Friedman said, it is unfortunate that a person who worked for the company for less than 2 weeks, she had worked for Vin Diesel for 9 days, 15 years ago in Atlanta, used California to file because of this act. So what we're seeing here, you guys, with this 47.1 California Fair FEHA Act is being used against a lot of people for the same reason that we're upset with Blake Lively, that she's suing Justin Baldoni in California, even though the alleged crime didn't happen in California. She doesn't even live in California. The lawsuit should not be taking place in California. The court case is not taking place in California, but she's using California to file. It doesn't make any sense. It's the same kind of situation. Doesn't that sound a little bit of alarm? Like, shouldn't that sound a little bit of alarms or alarm bells for anyone? He says the court today granted our client's motion in full, dismissing half of this frivolous case. Next, we will present irrefutable evidence that the remaining fictitious allegations alleged herein did not occur, and finally end what remains of this maliciously filed lawsuit. Now, I have no idea if it occurred or not. I'm not going into whether or not Vin Diesel is innocent or guilty. Like I said, I didn't even know that there was a case against Vin Diesel until today when I saw this article randomly on the People website. However, the issue is taking advantage of the court system in these kinds of cases so that it benefits your case, because California has this rule and other states do not. And I'm not a lawyer. I can't speak for this, but it's a smart move for the accuser. It's a smart move for the plaintiff, but it's a really, really damaging problem for the defendant, like a Vin Diesel, like a Justin Baldoni. And it's really unfair if you think about it, that you can just sue someone in a different state just because the laws are nicer for the accuser in that state. There should be rules against that. Does that make sense? In this case, I guess just to finish it off, it says Jonason said she was hired by Diesel's production company, One Race Films, to assist him on location in Atlanta, where his team was filming 2011's Fast Five. She said that he forcibly pulled her onto a bed, groped her breasts and legs, and masturbated at a hotel in Atlanta in September 2010, and that she was fired the next day. Okay. See, that to me sounds awful. And that to me already sounds 10 times worse than what Blake Lively is insisting that Justin Baldoni did to her, right? Just that one instance right there sounds a million times worse than what Justin Baldoni allegedly did to Blake Lively. But regardless, we're not even discussing that case. I'm just talking specifically about the court system and using the court system to your advantage. Now, a lot of what you guys were saying in the comments is about Ask Two Lawyers. I am not here in any way to defend or accuse of anything they say. I did not watch their live feed yesterday. I got a couple comments on yesterday's feed about what I said about Ask Two Lawyers. I'll go over a couple of them right now. Some of you guys were upset because you said that, I guess what I was saying yesterday is a little bit along the lines of how we tend to get really mad if people don't agree with us and get angry when people take the other side. And in the comments, oh my God, that's my voice. Sorry about that. Some of the comments that were upset or didn't agree with that say things like this. This is from Stray Kids Stay 18. It said, Donna, I want to respectfully tell you that what you said about people hating on Ask Two Lawyers just because they had a different view on the case is not what I've seen. What people were not okay with was one of them moving his opinion from the shady lawsuit being unethical to saying admiringly, I hope I'm saying that right, that it was a brilliant chess move. Some said that lawyer said he'd like to use that move himself in some way. A lawyer and a retired judge have said that sham lawsuit was so unethical that the lawyers involved could be disbarred. These people don't want to follow anyone that admires unethical behavior because they question their ethics for admiring it. The reviews I saw stated that and were not just hating on them. It wasn't about being petty about having different opinions on the case. And then another comment said, the Ask Two Lawyer, this is from Yaya Bolender. The Ask Two Lawyer situation is totally different from what you said. Stewart was admiring an unethical move, which had been confirmed as unethical by other lawyers. Not only was he admiring it, but also said that he would like to use it sometimes. So he is not ethical, and actually Keith didn't seem to agree with him. In another video, Stewart implied that Friedman was a liar. He hates Friedman and is very obviously on the Blake Lively side, while Keith remained mute and seemed embarrassed. There is something going on there. I think that Stewart has a real hatred towards Brian Friedman. I don't know about that. I'm sorry, but I cannot trust these lawyers. I don't mind listening to an unpleasant opinion when there's some logical explanation behind it, but when it doesn't seem very obviously biased to the point that they are transforming the reality. So I don't know if it is a YouTuber's code. Don't speak badly about other YouTubers, but what you said is not what happened. Please watch their videos when Stewart is there and you will see how strangely he behaves. Okay. So I am not watching every single video from every single YouTuber. I choose not to do that because I can't have it like mess with my head. I like to try to keep my own opinions to myself. And there's only so many hours in the day. And right now I'm spending more of my hours watching LawTubers on the Karen Reed case because it's currently on trial. But I will say, to me, will say, I think as a lawyer, this is how I'm going to say it. I can only speak as a YouTuber or a podcaster. I'm not a lawyer, but all I can say is this. I can say if I see a YouTuber do something really, really crazy and get 1 million subscribers, I could say like, wow, that was a genius move. Even if it maybe wasn't like the most ethical move ever, but they were getting so many subscribers. I could say like, wow, that was a really cool move. I mean, maybe if it's not illegal and not unethical, but I don't know. I haven't seen it exactly. Obviously, they're not getting disbarred, those judges, those lawyers. What they did is not illegal, is it? I don't think it's illegal. If it was illegal, they would have been disbarred or gotten in trouble already. I don't believe it's illegal. I think maybe it's not correct or ethical, but I'm not a lawyer well enough to say that. I just think that, there's certain things that they're not doing, in my opinion, that are the most ethical, in my opinion. But that's how I feel. Um, I don't believe that they're working with there's a lot of comments here that are stating lots of things really strongly. Be careful, you guys, that you're saying things from fact and not from just rumors. Lots of rumors going on in the comments. I can already read them. I don't want to repeat them, but I can already see them. I see them on Reddit every day. I see them. People, you guys are spreading rumors like crazy about who's working with who and who's saying this about who. Just remember, people are still allowed opinions without being paid off and being bought by people. Everyone has opinions that could be independent. So everyone calm down. Calm down. Okay. Let's go on. Okay. So that's where, meanwhile, Blake Lively wants everyone to know that she's just coming out with new vodka flavors for her alcohol brand. She doesn't have enough going on with her new body mists. She doesn't have enough going on with her hair care. She also just today has a new press release for People magazine that she is now adding vodka to her list for Betty Boos. She doesn't drink, but she's got vodka. So in case you guys are interested in buying more alcohol this summer, consider Betty Boos said no one ever. Said no one ever. No one. Make sure, do not do that. So good, so good. All right, let's move on to some other stuff because there's enough drama here in the comments, you guys. Everyone needs to calm down. See, this is what I'm telling you. Like, people need to relax. We all need to relax. Should we do like a meditation? Let's talk about hair. How about that? Let's talk about hers. Are you guys looking for thicker, fuller hair? Why don't we work together and try to find out how to get thicker, fuller hair this year? So, hers.com has come out with a new, thicker, fuller hair line. And what's cool about that is that I am looking for thicker, fuller hair. And it's no longer just a dream because now we can get thicker, fuller hair and it can look like Blake Lively's hair used to look before she decided to use her hair care line in just 3 to 6 months. Because let's be honest, nothing boosts confidence quite like great hair. But if you're seeing more strands in the shower, your confidence might not be at its highest. And that's why you need hers hair. Thinning hair is something no one wants to deal with, but actually doing something about it can be stressful. With so many products out there, it can be confusing on what actually works, and hers hair is what actually works. Through hers, everything is 100% online, no pharmacy trips, doctor's office visits, or insurance required. Plus, treatments start at just $35 a month. The best part, you can get thicker, fuller, healthier hair and start seeing regrowth in as little as 3 to 6 months. So start your free online visit today at forhers.com/daily dose. That's forhers, forhers.com/daily dose for your personalized hair loss treatment options. Forhers.com/daily dose. Individual results may vary. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information. And there's oral and topical solutions for your hair so you can get fuller, thicker, healthier hair. And if I just timed out my morning better, I would have time to blow dry my hair these days. And honestly, the truth is, I literally am not timing out my morning since this trial. This trial is messing up my schedule because I need to watch every moment of it when I'm like during my waking hours. I am truthfully more, I wake up in the morning. Waking up in the morning. What is the Gia song? I need to sing like Giudice. Waking up in the morning, waking up in the morning. I wake up in the morning and the trial starts at 6, like 6:30. Between 6 and 6:30, I wake up in the morning, I turn on the trial. And then I listen to that trial throughout my whole entire workout. And then I come up from my workout, I walk my dogs, I make my coffee, I do some work and I'm watching the trial. Then it's like 10:30. I'm like, shit, I need a shower before my show. And then I end up never blow drying my hair. I am like constantly on duty. I'm on jury duty all day. But today we had a short day at trial. But yesterday we finally got not finally, but we got some honest witnesses on the stand from the defense. And there were honest witnesses, I believe, from the prosecution side too. The medical examiner, I think she was really honest. Dr. Scortibello or whatever her name is, she was the one that did the autopsy. And she was like, I can't certifiably say that he was hit by a car. I can't say that there was an automobile accident was the cause of death. Yesterday we had the first honest police officer, maybe, no offense, but maybe in the whole Boston area. And that was Officer, let me get his name right because I don't want to get it wrong. And I didn't watch the full trial. I didn't watch the full Karen Reed first trial. I watched moments and I watched the documentary. So if this guy spoke in the first trial, I didn't see it. But he was actually really, really, I have like some issues with him, but in general, I thought he was like a very smart man. And his name was Officer. Where is this video that I was? Okay, hold on. Give me a second. Here we go. His name is Officer Barros. Oh my God. Thank you. You guys are going to help me in the comments. Thank you. Officer Barros. So Officer Barros works for the Dighton department, which is the neighboring department. So meaning he doesn't have a relationship with Alberts. He doesn't have a relationship with Higgins. He doesn't have a relationship with horrible Proctor, and he doesn't have a relationship with creepy Buchanan. None of those guys, which is good. That means he's not biased, but also that means he's not scared that he's going to get in trouble, or maybe he is scared. Maybe he should be scared, but he is a legitimate guy. And here's what he had to say. But first, we have a super chat, and this is important. MC High Life says, question for Donna and chat. If you could be a juror in any trial, Karen Reed, P. Diddy, or Blake versus Baldoni, what would it be? I wouldn't want to be Diddy. Diddy's out. Diddy is out. Get me out of that one. I have a hard time even covering it. A, because it's not on TV, so I can't like really get into it. B, because I'm just grossed out by it. But I definitely have an interview coming up this week. You guys, you'll probably get it by beginning of next week, which will cover up we'll interview someone that's actually in the trial every day. So don't worry, I'll get more on that. Just for those of you that are really interested. I've lost interest a little bit in the Diddy trial, I have to be honest, but I'm not really interested in that. Karen Reed, I would love to be a juror in that, just to freaking have a say to finally get her acquitted. But I think I'd love to be in the room for Baldoni and Blake because it's not aired. At least we get to watch this one on TV, but we're not going to be able to be in the room for that. A lot of you guys are saying, I'm seeing Idaho 4 in the comments. And I still don't even really know the story of Idaho 4. I know the story, but I don't know the details because I feel like it's too dark for my little sensitive brain. And I want to sleep at night well. You know what I mean? Christina says, I can be your Diddy trial person. How do you watch every day of the trial if it's not on TV? What are you watching? You're just watching YouTubers cover it? By watching it, you watch BJ read tweets. Yeah, it's just not that interesting to me, just hearing him be like gross every day. Okay, tell me what you guys are finding is the most damning thing about Diddy right now. Tell me in the comments while I keep going about Officer Barros. So Officer Barros comes onto the stand yesterday, and the important thing about him is that he's there because he was the person that was asked to help tow Karen Reed's Lexus the day of John O'Keefe's death, January 29th, 2022. Right? Yeah, January 29th, 2022. In the afternoon, he was asked to tow her car, and he recognized that in her car, there was damage to the tail light. Let's see if I can find that part.
Did you walk all the way around it?
Not all the way around.
Did you see the rear end of it?
I did.
Did you make note of the rear end of it?
Yes.
How long would you say you were at the location in a position to observe the rear end of that SUV? 2 minutes, 20 minutes, something in between, longer?
I would say not the entire time that I was there, but a good amount of time.
More than a glance.
Yes.
This is the afternoon of January 29th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
Before the vehicle had been seized formally by Trooper Proctor and Sergeant Buchanan, correct?
Correct.
Did you observe anything of note about the rear end of that black SUV?
Yes, I noted in a report that there was damage to the taillight,
Can you describe for the juror, by the way, which taillight are we talking about?
the right rear taillight.
Can you describe for the jurors what you noted in terms of the damage to the right rear taillight?
I noted that the report said that there was right rear damage to that taillight.
When you say damage, have you ever described that damage previously?
I have.
Can you tell us what that
Yep.
description is?
There was, it was damaged. The taillight was damaged, but there was a crack missing, but it was not completely damaged.
Crack missing, not
When you say
completely
there was
damaged.
a crack, do you mean there was a piece missing?
A piece was missing.
Can you describe for the jurors kind of what that piece looked like, how big it was, how small, the shape, as you call it?
The piece was about maybe this big,
Is that maybe the size of a dollar bill, maybe 6 inches?
6 inches. or
And
so.
how wide?
Maybe that wide, maybe 3 inches, 2 inches, somewhere
Okay.
in there.
I want to show you a photo. Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would like to show Exhibit 13. It's been previously marked. Do you see what's depicted in this photograph?
I do.
What does that appear to be, just generally?
The right rear tail light,
Of what?
the Lexus SUV.
Is that consistent with the black Lexus SUV that you saw at the Reed residence?
That was the black Lexus. That was not the tail light the day I was there.
Can you do me a favor, Mr. Wolk, with the court's permission? Can we zoom in on the right rear taillight, please?
Okay.
Do you see the condition of that taillight as it's depicted in this photo?
I do.
Sergeant Barros, is this the condition of the right rear taillight when you showed up at the Reed household at around 3:15 in the afternoon on January 29th, 2022?
Absolutely not.
What's different about this photo, sir?
That tail light is completely smashed out.
Okay. So, in case you're missing the significance of this, he's saying, I picked up the car from Karen Reed's I believe it was at her parents' house at that afternoon at 3 p.m. He said there was a crack missing. So, imagine it's skinnier than this, but imagine it's the size of this remote here. All right. So, there's a crack missing from the back of the tail light. This is it. However, in this picture, meaning after Proctor, who's at my house? Proctor? Oh, it's the mosquito. It's the mosquito sprayers. There was like a random man in my backyard. I got scared. See, this is why I can't watch Idaho 4. Okay. So there is a crack this big, all right? Yeah, it's Higgins. He wants to see if I want to have a drink. He's asking if I like him. You'll like me, Donna? Circle yes or no. The answer is no, Higgins. Okay, so he has a crack in the back of the taillight. He picks up the car. He helps tow the car at 3:15 p.m. He writes in a report, and this is the problem. No pictures. If he had a picture of that freaking taillight, but he doesn't take a picture and he doesn't write and put anything in significance because the entire taillight is not smashed out. Had he seen the entire taillight completely broken or smashed out, he thinks he probably would have written in his report, right taillight damaged, right taillight completely smashed out, right taillight, whatever. So he didn't. He just said right taillight. I forget his exact wordings. And he just wrote that in the report. But he remembers with his brain that it was just damaged partially. It goes to the Sally port, which it shouldn't have been at the Sally port, by the way. The Sally port in the Canton Police Department is in their own, in their own unit. It shouldn't have been there because that's like taking the evidence to your own backyard. Remember, it's within their own police department. Takes the evidence to their own backyard. The proctor gets to hang out and God knows what for an hour in the backyard or in the back of the truck. And then all of a sudden the entire back of the light is missing. Now he is completely standing up there and saying with his own memory, he knows that that is not what it looks like. The problem was, which I think is a phenomenal testimony. Okay. This is a police officer. He has absolutely no reason to lie. He has absolutely there's no win here for him to lie. The problem is Brennan comes up there and gives him a cross-examination that makes him, in my opinion, he doesn't stand as strong as he could be. He stands honest, but he doesn't stand strong, and it almost feels a little bit, in my opinion, like he crumbles for prosecution and for cross. And what worries me is that the jury may look at that and say like, oh, he's falling apart. See, what we've seen in the past is that the prosecution's witnesses get really defensive with cross. Like, some of these liars, right? Like Jen McCabe or Dever or whatever, even though Dever was a defense witness, she was obviously lying, in my opinion. She was obviously for the prosecution. But they come off like really defensive and they come off really like, yeah, no, but he's honest. And I think he was just trying to stay really like, yes, no, honest, real. So Brendan's like, you have a memory problem. You clearly don't remember things. You clearly have issues with your foggy memory, this and that. And so the guy is just trying to answer honestly. And he's coming off a little bit weak when he was getting crossed. I'll give you guys a couple more moments. I'll just fast forward to like a random moment in his cross just to see what happens.
Was it this year probably? Do you think you met them this year?
This year.
You know what month you met them this year?
I wouldn't know the month.
Certainly you talked about this issue with the taillight, didn't you?
Yes.
When you talked about the issue with the taillight, did anybody from the defense offer you any information?
No.
Did they ask you questions about it?
No.
So you went to a meeting in a Boston hotel in a conference room, and nobody talked about the taillight? Objection.
I'm going to allow it.
Of course, you're going to allow it, Bev.
They
Sir,
just-
I'll ask
corrupt.
another question instead. Have you had an opportunity to see other evidence of that taillight being damaged that morning before you saw it?
On the 29th of January? No.
The video that was shown to you with the tow truck, had you seen that before today?
Yes.
Who showed it to you?
From seeing it on TV, and
Was it shown to you during your conference room meeting at the hotel?
it was not.
So you looked and studied and watched this case a little bit?
With all due respect, sir, I don't live under a rock. It's all over social media and the news. You can't avoid it.
I'm not criticizing you with this much, I'm just asking you. Have you been exposed to this case since you made those observations indictment on January 29, 2022?
I have.
Have you seen other video footage and evidence about that taillight since January 29, 2022?
I have.
Have you seen other information since you last testified last summer about the taillight?
I have.
And seeing this extraneous information, this other information, do you think that played a part in some of your difficult memory?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
Your Honor.
She allows everything. There's so many sidebars because she allows everything from this damn prosecution. It's so frustrating. Yesterday was so frustrating.
You've seen quite a bit of information about this case and the issue regarding the taillights since you first made the observations back in 2022. Wouldn't that be fair to say?
Would be fair to say.
And based on all the additional information you've read and seen, would you agree it's had some effect on your memory?
I guess.
No, I don't want you to guess. You testified that you made explanations at the last trial that you didn't make, right?
Correct.
You had a memory as you testified in direct examination under oath and you tried your best. Well, things that just didn't happen, right?
Right.
Would you agree that you have some difficulty with your memory?
I'd agree.
I want to show you some evidence of that taillight before you had a chance to see it indicted.
So it goes on and on and on.
Phosphorus that
And
accumulated inside of it.
I did not.
And the snow that was snow packed on that car, wasn't there?
There was.
There was snow packed around the light, wasn't it?
There was.
And would you agree with the snow, since you didn't tamper with it or try to remove anything, that could impede your ability to accurately observe the depth of the damage? Would you agree with that?
I would.
If we could have Exhibit 10, please.
now, in my opinion, Brennan's just doing his job as a prosecutor doing cross-examination. But for me, because I obviously am coming in it with a little confirmation bias, I think that he looks desperate. And to me, it looks like Barros has absolutely no reason to lie in this case. Same with Lucky. Now, today, and I did a little research on Barros. Barros was actually hit by a drunk driver, which I find to be so interesting. Barros, and I don't know if this comes up in any way. Officer Barros, listen to this. Let me show you this little article. Officer Barros, Dighton officer hit by drunk driver. It says still recovering months later. This was posted March 15th, 2024, which of all things is a crazy story for this case because this is a case about drunk driving, basically. Not only is Karen, definitely she was drunk driving that night, but so was every single other person in this case. And the fact that he's still standing up for someone like Karen shows to me that like this is not a personal issue for him. He is truly just trying to tell the truth. This article says Sergeant Nick Barros is a 7-year veteran of the Dighton Police Department, but he hasn't been in a cruiser since October 9th, 2023. Barros told 12 News he was driving his cruiser down Route 44 the night he was hit head on by a drunk driver. It says, "I am lucky to be alive," Barros said. "When you see a car coming straight at you like that, all you can think of is death." He was looking at his speed radar in his cruiser and seeing just how fast the oncoming car was barreling towards him. It said 70 miles per hour. The car kept getting closer and closer. It began drifting into my lane. I held onto the steering wheel. I knew this car was going to hit me. He tried to swerve out of the way. It was too late. He heard a loud boom. I thought I was dead. He's thankfully still alive. The driver was a 30-year-old Michelle Souza. She pleaded guilty to operating under the influence. She could have killed me. She could have killed someone else. He broke both bones in his hands, burns the size of softballs on his side from the airbags deploying. He's still coping with numbness and tingling in his hands, so he hasn't returned to work since. He doesn't have the strength in his hands to do the job of a police officer, and he's not working yet. So this was back in March. I have no idea if he's back to work. It says he's expected to be back on the job in May. This is not a man that is like pro Karen Reed. She was a drunk driver that night. No one is fighting that, but he's fighting for the truth. This poor man, okay? And he got like attacked on the stand by Brennan being like, is someone paying you to say this? Is someone da-da-da? Like, I understand that you have to do your job. I also feel like he's taking like a page out of Alan Jackson's book in his cross-examination. Does anyone else feel that? Like he's trying really hard to be like, like really, he's trying to put on his like cross-examination pants on and it's like failing, but he's just coming off like a bully. I don't know if anyone else is feeling like that when he's doing his cross-examination. Nothing made me feel like that more than today though. Today's cross-examination of Lucky it broke my heart. So Lucky is the snowplow driver. And I'm going to show you guys a couple moments from today's trial, which is obviously already over because Bev doesn't like to work. But today we had Lucky. Now, Lucky is, he was the snowplow driver and he was in the first trial as well. And I remember watching him in the documentary. And he was a very, very pivotal person here because he came out of nowhere. He grew up in Canton. He is a local. Once again, absolutely no reason to lie here. Why would he? He is just a blue collar worker. He has absolutely no skin in the game. He has no dog in the fight. He has no money. He works overnights plowing the snow. You know, he doesn't have money. He worked at a pizza parlor working under the Alberts. The Alberts come from a family of like 17 boys. I had no idea. There's literally like 6 boys in that family. He went to high school or elementary school with Chris Alberts, I want to say, one of them. And then he ended up working under them. It's giving like Back to the Future, Marty working for Biff. Does anyone else get that feeling? It's giving like that kind of energy in that town. And he was plowing the snow that morning of the death. And he happened to drive by Fairview. And he says straight up that morning that he did not see John O'Keefe's body. And he would have, because that's what you do as a snowplow driver, that you are looking specifically to see both sides of the street.
Do you recognize what is depicted in those photos?
Yes, I do.
Road at around that time. How was the seat adjusted?
Hold on.
Cordial with the boys.
All right. January 29th of 2022, when you're making the second pass by 34 Fairview in the area of the flagpole.
I saw nothing.
All right. Now, you've made an up and down pass, sir, correct?
Yes.
Once you pass 34 Fairview for that first up and down pass, where do you go?
I then go do Spring Lane, and I do that top and bottom.
And is there a point in time when you come back to the area of Fairview Road?
Yes.
That second time now that you're coming back, I'm counting the up and down pass as the first time.
Okay.
You with me?
Yep.
That second time now that you're coming back, about how long is it after the first time?
About 45 minutes.
So now it's about what time that you're coming for the second time to this area?
3:30.
And when you come back to the area of Fairview Road, the second time, are you on the Cedar Crest side, which is on the top of Exhibit 49, or the Chapman side, which is on the bottom of Exhibit 49?
I'm on the Cedar Crest side.
And when you approach it from the Cedar Crest side, are you approaching from the same direction that you did for the first time up and down pass, or a different direction?
Same direction.
All right, so you're now coming down Cedar Crest again, correct?
Correct.
Fairview's on your left.
Yes.
Did you take that left, or did you do something else?
I did not take the left. At that point, I could have taken the left. I can make a decision depending on how much snow there was on the ground. I ended up going all the way to the end as if the first time.
All right, and you did your same turnaround in the cul-de-sac?
Correct.
And now you're approaching the intersection of Cedar Crest and Fairview again, correct?
Yes.
What do?
I take the right onto Fairview.
Notice
How is the
Judge
weather
Bev,
at
you
3:30 in
guys,
the morning
on
when
the,
you're now
I
in
didn't
that
notice
area
this.
of
If you notice
Fairview?
Judge Bev over here, this woman does not stop moving. She has issues. She's like, does she have to pee or something? It's crazy. I've never noticed it. She's constantly moving. Now, he continues to say that he doesn't see the body. He doesn't see, and he's saying, all my job is to look forward, to look right, left, and diagonal. Why? Because I want to make sure that, God forbid, I don't see any pedestrians, I don't see any cars backing out, and I don't see any animals. That is all I care about. And that is his job. This plow. This plow is something that is huge and it's very dangerous. If there's a moving vehicle or person or an animal, like it will hit and it will, God forbid, probably kill an animal and possibly a person. So like he has to be very, very aware. It's a huge machine. That is his job. And he says that he looks up and down and makes sure it's constantly, you have to be on. Now, remember, this body is not high up on the road, on the street. If you guys remember from seeing all the footage, it's right on the road. It's 2 feet off the road or whatever. So like it's not hard to see if you're driving and you have these big floodlights going out. But meanwhile, Judge Bev is doing, I don't know, she's doing the sprinkler over there. She's doing the Can You Imagine Zach Peters sprinkler over there. She's literally, I don't know what's happening over there. It's so wild. Maybe she's trying to get what's his name to object every second. Now, when Brennan comes up to do his little cross, he's such a piece of shit. Sorry, I'm just going to be honest. He's a piece of shit.
Enjoy the attention that you were receiving?
Listen to how he goes after him. Instead of being like, you know, understanding that this is a scary thing that this guy is coming out against his own country, his own city, right? His own town. He's born and raised in Canton. This is like all he knows in terms of like community. He's come out and he's gone against like these high-powered individuals because he knows what is right. There's no other reason. He's not coming out and lying for fun. In my opinion, I just don't see why you would do that. But he's doing that. Oh my gosh, Danny, you've been a member for 11 months. That's so amazing. Thank you so much. Make sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you so much, sweetie. So, this is how Brennan starts the cross. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are you kidding me? Let me see where he starts it.
I'll allow that.
And did Michael Proctor?
Is it fair to say that when you've recounted that night as far as times and what you saw, many times your memory has changed? Is that fair to say?
It has not.
You spoke to a private investigator on behalf of the defense shortly after that night?
Yes.
Was that the first time that you spoke to somebody about what you had seen or not seen?
Yes.
That is the first time?
Yes.
Inevitably, over time, you have given statements to at least 4 different people, correct?
Correct.
And you've testified in court under oath?
Correct.
During the pendency from that night until today, it's fair to say there are many times where you have been intimidated, isn't it?
No.
You've been threatened.
Nope.
You were aware, sir, that you were being threatened by an online blogger to expose you?
I was not.
You're saying as you sit here today, you have no awareness in the history of this case that you were being threatened by an online blogger.
I was not threatened by an online blogger.
Was the online blogger threatening or saying that he would expose you and tell personal things about you if you weren't helpful?
He was not threatening.
Let's remove the word threatening. Was the person communicating and making clear to you that if you didn't testify in a certain way, there would be some consequence to you? Anytime from when you first spoke to the private investigator until today, were there communications made to you by an online blogger that there would be consequence to you if you didn't testify in a way that was acceptable to them?
No,
You listened, of course, didn't you, to podcasts that were about you?
I did not.
People told you about them.
Yes, they did.
When friends told you about them, you knew who that person was that was making those claims, correct?
Correct.
You were well aware of the person had a very strong and large social media presence.
I didn't know how large or what his presence were, but yes, I knew he had a blog.
Well, you know now because you follow that blogger now, don't you?
I do follow him, yes.
You pay for a subscription.
I do not.
Did you get one for free?
I did not.
And in following that blogger, you know full well the power that person has to get attention from the community to harass, correct?
Yes.
And so during the pendency of this case, not only were you aware that you were being pressured to testify a certain way, you also knew there'd be consequences if you didn't. Isn't that true?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
The premise of that question is not accurate.
So he can answer it.
You knew there was pressure for you to testify a certain way in this case, didn't you?
I did not know I was being required to testify a certain way. I was also at the time dealing with the loss of my wife. I was not paying any attention to any social media.
Sorry for your loss, but you are aware during the pendency of this case that there has been pressure on you to testify in a certain way. Isn't that fair to say?
No.
So I believe, and this part I don't really know the story, and I want to do a little bit of research. I believe this is about Turtle Boy, and someone needs to kind of give me a background. Maybe some of you guys here in the comments know the story behind the scenes. I'm going to do a little research here. Turtle Boy is in the courtroom during this, which is even weirder, because Turtle Boy is sitting in the room. Later, they pan over to him, which is awkward. But when he says this, at the time I'm dealing with the loss of my wife, I'm too emotional. I started to tear up. Like, I can't handle this kind of stuff. There's something about Lucky's face and his heart and his energy and him, just like his life, just like the fact that he's up in the middle of the night snow plowing because he has to support his 3 kids, because he's a widowed father and he's living this like life just working to make money to support his 3 kids. I don't know anything about him other than this. And yet he's going against like the powers that be in this corrupt ass town to tell the truth against like these corrupt ass bully freaking cops that could ruin his life just to do the right thing. Like, I want to cry for Lucky. It's the same energy over and over. I just want to cry for Lucky. And I hate Brennan more than anything. Like, Brennan made me so angry this morning, more than I've ever been at him today. He and Bev together. I felt like he was getting bullied on the stand in front of everyone. Does anyone else feel that way? So I have no idea exactly what happened with Aiden, but now I want to know. Micah, who's been very much following this, says Hank's stretching a message that Aiden sent to Lucky. So Aiden sent something to Lucky. Micah says, I'm not 100% familiar with the blog post, but I don't believe Aiden was ever threatening him. Yes, we need to learn more about it. I'm very, very curious. Okay, so just to hear, the end of it, he continues, and he holds strong. This man, Brian, holds strong, because later on, this is so crazy. Brennan goes crazy. He starts pulling up all these weird facts. He's like, you don't remember ever telling the feds this? You don't remember telling the feds this? And Brian stays calm and confident. He's like, no, I never said that. I never said that. I did not say that. I did not say that. And this is the difference between these defendants or these witnesses and the other witnesses, the ones that I believe are lying. They get defensive. They get angry. They ask to see reports. They say, like, I don't recall this. And these guys, they're just calm. And they say, no, I never said that. I never said that. I did not say that. I found it to be so revealing about who these people are. Yeah, you guys have the same. I feel like so many people have the same hearts. Jennifer says, such a kind, gentle spirit. I literally had to walk away from my TV. I felt the same way. Like, I felt physically uncomfortable watching it. I just want to hug him. Okay. Bren says Hank is referring to Turtle Boy. Aiden, Turtle Boy never harassed Lucky. He did speak to him, but Turtle Boy said Lucky should never have to pay for a drink in Canton again because he's a good and stand-up guy. I remember that. Interesting. Okay. So it was hard to watch. That's all that happened in Karen Reed. We did have another little witness. One of the girls that was at the waterfall, one of the women that was at the waterfall who also knows Jen McCabe, she just kind of like corroborated the fact that Jen McCabe said to Karen Reed, like, come with me back to the house. And that was kind of it. And then, of course, we have a break in the trial tomorrow because it's too hot and the fans are too loud. This is not a joke. The fans are too loud, so we have no court tomorrow. It's psycho. Not psycho, psycho. So let's move on. Let's talk about the Valley really quickly, okay? The Valley is it continues to be the most triggering show on TV. Yesterday, we got basically nothing from Jesse and Michelle, Jesse Lally and Michelle. So that couple just like went away. They just disappeared. I don't think Jesse was even in the show last night. It was so weird. Also, Danny and Nia, pretty much not in the show, at least from what I can remember. Like, we saw them, but they weren't really in the show. They went to the talks. They got like one of those, I've gotten them before. Lymphatic drainage massages, which are the most painful things ever. It's like, why are we paying $200 to be in pain? But I guess that's Botox for you. So then we there was a lot of like Janet and Jason Caperna and Jasmine drama. All I can say is this. Janet to me continues and like will continue to be the most annoying person on TV. I find her to be insufferable, very annoying. Her husband, they're all the same, but the other J guy, Jason, is incredibly kind and sweet and wonderful, but he's married to Janet. So, or Jasmine, Janet. He's married. There's too many. Janet, Jasmine, Jason. He's married to Janet. So that immediately brings him down a notch because I'm like, how could you be married to someone like her? But whatever, let them be. But let's talk about the last J, the most important J on this show. I say that not because he actually is important, but just because he's someone we need to talk about. Jax. Jax Taylor shows back up on the show yesterday. Okay. We had a break from him for like 2 episodes. He shows back up in a FaceTime call. He FaceTimes with his buddy Jason yesterday, and it makes him, he sits there and he talks about the fact that he is like, I've learned so much while I've been here, and I have not paid any mortgage, and I owe Brittany so much money. And I just really wish that she would have left me so long ago because I've been the worst. I have been horrible to her, and I just can't believe I did this, and I'm just the worst person ever, and I have learned from my mistakes, and I'm just horrible. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give her the money from the podcast. We make so much money from the podcast. I'm just going to give it all to her. I'm going to give her all the money from our podcast, and she can pay off all the mortgage that I owe, and it's just going to be, I'm just going to give it all to her, and she's going to be, I just feel so bad. I just feel so bad. My dad would be so proud of me, and I am just, I can't believe I did this. And they hang up the phone, and Janet and Jason look at each other and they're like, wow, this man has changed. This man has changed. And then Brittany decides to move back into the house, the marital house, right? Because Jax at this point has rented a condo next door to Tom Schwartzy. So he's in a condo, he's gone. And they move back into the house, and they come into the house and they realize, oh my God, there's cameras all over the house, right? Nanny cams. Whatever, indoor cams. So they decide to put up Post-its all over the cameras. But as they're filming, Brittany is FaceTiming with, I think, Jax's sister. And all of a sudden a producer walks in and she goes, oh, Brittany, I just got a text. Jax can hear everything we're saying in here. So Jax is in the house. Not really. He can't see anything because they put Post-its everywhere, but he can hear everything because this motherfucker has tapped the house. There's taps everywhere. So he can hear everything that's happening in the house. I'm truly worried for Brittany's safety. And I don't say this as a joke. Worried for her safety. So she's FaceTiming Jax's sister. And she's saying to Jax's sister, so your brother can hear everything I'm saying right now. Also, by the way, I don't know where any of my rings are. We find out that Jax has hidden Brittany's rings. Okay? These rings, I don't care that my husband bought them for me. They are mine. These rings, they belong to the woman after you get married, not the man. Right? Am I insane? Don't these belong to the wife? Is there a rule in some world where the man owns these rings? I thought these always belonged to the woman. He has taken back why she even gave them to him or had him have them. Maybe she took them off when she was mad or something. He has the ring. She has no idea where they are. Now, during this scene, Jax calls the sister while she's FaceTiming with the sister, because of course Jax can hear this somehow. He calls the sister. The sister calls Brittany back and says Jax is going to the emergency room. He thinks he has high blood pressure. So now in this scene, while she's upset about the fact that he can hear her and he's taken her rings, he now is saying, I think I'm having a heart attack. So now she feels bad for him. This is mental torture. Torture. So then, and then it goes on and on and on. There's so much other stuff about the house, about the mortgage, whatever. In the after show, we find out he has not given her half of the podcast money, none of it. And she's had to pay all of his mortgage and all of the taxes. And she still doesn't have ownership over the rings. He has all of the rings and he's holding the rings hostage. He has the rings in his safe. She thinks, she doesn't know for sure, but he's holding the rings somewhere. He says in a trust for Cruz, meaning he sold it to buy coke, allegedly. I don't think I've ever disliked someone more than anyone than Jax Taylor. Well, no, there's more, but Jax Taylor is one of the top reality stars that I've disliked ever in my entire life. He's so triggering to me. Like, we've talked about this multiple times on the show. I've enjoyed watching it without him. Now I know. But now that he's back, I despise him. Janet loses her mind at Jasmine loses her mind at Janet at this beach bonfire, and I still don't understand why. She loses it on Janet. She says she has Karen energy. I'm sorry to the Karens. It's very annoying to have that name, but you know. Other than that, nothing really happens. Again, Sheena and Lala and Brock are in the show. For what? Why? Like, why are they in the show? Makes no sense. There's like no reason for them to be there, right? I feel honestly like there's no point. They're just there. They just didn't have anywhere else for them to go. So they just threw them on the beach. They threw them into their houses. Like, makes no sense. And we had to find out about them having anal sex, Sheena and Brock. We found out that Brock does not have a long penis, but he has a thick penis. I don't want to know that. Don't want to know that. So the Valley's just fine. Next week looks good, though. Apparently, Nia's husband, Danny, the one that we've been trying to protect this whole time, that he's not an alcoholic, does end up drinking and gets really dark next season. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Next. Let's think. Oh, yeah. Tonight, Kristin Cavallari's new show premieres. This is a behind the scenes look of her podcast tour. I'm actually interested in watching this. She just released a podcast episode with her kids. I like this side of her with her little kids. And she just released an article, or there's an article that just came out the other day. You guys know I like Kristin Cavallari. I don't know about you guys, how you feel about her, but I really like her. And it's because of stuff like this. So she just released an article, and I posted this in the Facebook group, Daily Dose of Donna Facebook group, that says, Kristin Cavallari says cutting her dad out of her life was the best decision I've ever made. And you guys know I've done this too, right? I don't talk about it all the time, but I've talked about it on Patreon a bunch. So she says she has no regrets about cutting her dad out of her life. She says, I mean, honestly, and this might sound messed up to some people, but it's the best decision I've ever made, cutting my dad out of my life. Such a weight has been lifted off from me. There's not one day where I don't miss him. I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years ago, but I mean, I was an adult. Let's just say I was 35 when I decided. It was 35 years of build up to that point. She said he crossed the boundary with my kids and he couldn't even apologize. Like, you're gaslighting me. I don't have that time for that anymore. If someone's not bringing you joy, if people are only bringing you hurt and sadness and anger, what is the point? Even if it's a parent, life's too short. I love this for her. I don't know about you guys, but for me, if you have a parent who is toxic in your life, and it's not just like mean to you, because I think there's a very big difference from a parent who is like mean versus a parent who is literally awful to you, toxic, draining, and like abusive in some capacity. I think you should absolutely cut them out of your life. I did that with one of my parents, not my mom. So my dad, and it was the best decision I could have ever done. It like really protected my mental health. And it was when I had kids that I saw he was doing it to them. And I was like, I couldn't do it for myself, but I'm doing it for my kids. He absolutely doesn't have to have a relationship with my kids. So I absolutely believe that you should cut out your relationship with a parent if they're in any way bad parents to a certain extent. Speaking of, did you guys see the clip from this new show Next and NYC Next Gen? Now, I haven't watched it and I will not watch it unless you guys tell me it was amazing. Did anyone here watch it? But Ariana Bierman, Kim Zolciak-Bierman's daughter, reveals on the show that her parents stole all her money, basically spent all her money. I'm not surprised by it, but this is real sad. Real sad. So on the show, she's talking to her boyfriend or whatever on the episode, and she says, oh my God, these stupid ads. She says, Kim Zolciak's daughter claimed her mom and stepdad spent all of the money that she made since their divorce. She says, I've been on TV since I was 5. I did reality TV with my family. Then I started posting on Instagram. I got my first brand deal when I was 14. She said, I got paid astronomical money to do a story or to do Instagram posts, but unfortunately, my parents took my money. I can't say what my parents used my money on, but I found out it was gone 2 years ago. I don't even know how much money I made over the time period. Nobody was honest. There was no transparency, and I have no idea where it actually went. And her boyfriend was there in the scene when she was saying that her mom constantly calls her for asking for money. And she says, sometimes I don't even tell my boyfriend when she's asking me for something because she's going through this crazy divorce and living with 4 kids. I get it. And I never want money to destroy the relationship with my family. So Kim Zolciak, according to this show or according to her daughter, and I don't know if this is just a storyline or what, is basically asking for money from her freaking 23-year-old daughter. And like I said, I don't know if that's a storyline or what, but to me, speaking of toxic parents and draining parents, like that is just totally gross, considering she says on the show, I just watched my mom drink a $200 bottle of wine on her Instagram stories the other day and then asked me for money. So that's very upsetting. Anyway, that, my friends, is that extra long episode, even with a broken voice. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing every day. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you tomorrow on Daily Dose of Donna. Bye, guys.